Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Love of Business podcast at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. My name is Maria Miko Faith, and I will be your host today. Today, I am honored to introduce Tami Belt of Blue Cube Marketing. Hi, Tami.
Hi, Miko. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, too. I'm so happy that we're doing this.
Yes.
So let me start with the first sentence of your bio because it just makes my heart sing. Tami wanted to be a rock star when she grew up, but she couldn't sing on key, so she sings the praises of others. That, my friends, is PR. Am I right?
Yes. You give them something to talk about.
So do you have, I'm sorry. I'm just making sure that my sound is good. Is my sound good?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So in 2002, you launched your company, Blue Cube Marketing Solutions, to transform the way companies and nonprofits approach communications, strategy, and community engagement. So can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, I born and raised in Las Vegas, was in corporate America for a while, got tired of it. And that's when I said, I'm going to open up my own sandbox and only play with nice people. And in doing that, it was trying to figure out, well, what do I want to do? Because I'd done a lot, but there was a lot that I did that I didn't like. So when I started thinking about what wasn't being done as well as I thought it could be done, that was when I came up with communication strategy, because a lot of businesses don't have it, or nonprofits. They don't have a communication strategy. They think, oh, this is happening, let's put this out there. Oh, let's do this, let's do that. And there's not a strategy behind what they do. And then community engagement, it's not just, a newspaper running ad space or writing a check or every once in a while getting a group to volunteer. Again, it's a business strategy. So that was why I wanted to concentrate on those two things and do it in a way that I felt there was an opportunity to do it better than was being done in corporate America.
That's awesome that you took the initiative to go ahead and start your own agency, basically. And so what do you focus on with companies as far as an overall strategy? Is there something that you introduce them to that you can share with us?
Well, what I like to do is, the best conversation begins by listening. So I ask them what they're looking for. If they're looking for instant sales, no PR person's going to give them that, because public relations is about building relationships. It's not about, direct sales. It can lead to that, obviously, but it's not that. So I find out what they're looking for. And then I look to build a communication strategy that meets their strategic plan. Now, a lot of them don't have a strategic plan either, but they do. but they have certain goals, certain things that they want to do. Do they want to increase awareness? Do they want to help recruit volunteers or donors or employees? There's so many different things that they want. And there's so many ways that a communication strategy can help realize what they're looking for.
That's so important. I feel like we all need communication strategies in our personal lives.
Yeah. People talk about, I do social media strategy, and it's like, no, social media is a medium. What is your overall communication strategy? Don't just throw things up there. There's a purpose behind it. What are you trying to communicate? Do you just want people to know what you had for dinner? Are you trying to establish yourself as a resource? Are you, showcasing your clients or your company? there's a purpose behind it. And yeah, you want to mix some personal stuff, not too personal, but you want to mix some personal stuff with business because people do business with people, not companies. It's the person. That's the unique selling point. You know, a lot of people do PR. A lot of people do, offer the same products or services. But what's unique more than anything that's not gimmicky is the person that serves them, you know? In corporate America, when I would deal with certain vendors for different things, I would go with the person who I knew. If it was promotional products, because back in the 80s when I was working at St. Rose Hospital in the late 80s, early 90s, there were so many promotional product salespeople, but they all had the same stuff. But it was the person who served me instead of, look, I got a special on this. It's like, I don't need that. And, it was the one who knew me. I didn't have time to meet with people all the time and look at their catalogs and be sold to. Nobody wants to be sold to. People want to be helped.
Yes. So
Yeah.
true. So you talked about serving, people you're serving, and that's actually one of the questions I had was, who do you serve? Yeah, let's just keep that one. Who do you serve? And then we'll go on to the other ones later.
Okay. My main focus is on small companies and nonprofits because larger companies tend to have in-house PR departments. Now, I can work with an in-house PR department because when I was in corporate America, I didn't work at an agency. I worked in-house. I worked in-house at a small boutique ad agency for the first few months out of college. And then I went to St. Rose Hospital where I was in-house for 7 years. And then I went to the RJ where I was part of the in-house. We were like the in-house ad agency for the newspaper. And then we oversaw the community engagement on top of helping the paper promote itself. So that was interesting, being the one that was sending press releases to the media to being the media. So it's typically small companies and nonprofits. Though I had 7-Eleven as a client for several years, and I handled their PR for Las Vegas and Reno. So I've worked with larger companies and franchises and stuff like that. But the sweet spot is basically small businesses and nonprofits.
Okay. And I mean, you even though you had some challenges in corporate America, you stuck with PR, which to me that just says love of business right there. So, can you tell us about your love of business?
My love of it. I
Yeah,
love stories.
what do you love about your business?
Stories. Everyone has a story someone in the world needs to hear for insight, inspiration, or to know that they're not alone. People's stories and why they do what they do the way that they do it. How companies were founded, those passions and the principles, those stories get lost in the what they're doing instead of the why. It's so true. And business is personal. It's about relationships. So you have to get that personal story out there. That's the unique selling point, is that connection that a company has with their community, with their employees, with their vendors. People switch companies to support a company that aligns with the cause that they believe in. It's so personal, and it's amplified more and more now than back when I started my company in 2002. It's the reason why. I mean, there's a reason why you're friends with some people, but you'd never date them. But they're awesome, amazing people, but they're not the right type to date, and there's different reasons why we are attracted to and want to have different relationships with different people. Employees want to work with companies that they align with their values. And that matters more and more, especially to Generation Z.
That personal connection is essential.
It is. It's the same reason, like I said, why you're friends with somebody as opposed to not being friends with them. And you're not friends with every client, but there's a reason why people work with you. When I first launched my company, my colleagues that owned their own agencies would call me and say, "Who can I refer to you?" Because even though we do the same thing, we're not the right fit for everyone. Some companies are too big or too small or not in the area of expertise or just not an area that they want to serve, not the right industry. But it's more than just, can they do the job and do it well? Yeah, they can do the job and do it well. But is there a connection between the client and the PR person? There has to be the right relationship. You have to be on the same page, and if you're not, then I'm happy to refer to somebody else that I know can take care of them. And the same is true with colleagues. They're happy to refer to me if it's not a fit.
Yeah, I think that's just a very professional way to go about things. Um, it reminds me, I learned that during my own health journey with breast cancer and seeing how the doctors refer the other specialists, and that's how they do. They're not trying. I mean, not that there's always exceptions to the rule, but for in my experience, um, once something got out of someone else's expertise, they referred me to someone else, and I felt like I was in good hands because of that culture.
Yes, because you trust your doctor, and that's just the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Your main goal is to best serve that person, and you don't know who they know and who they're going to talk to down the road. But it's not a competition, it's a collaboration. And yes, there's bad apples in every industry. There's cutthroat people, there's people that will throw you under the bus and go, "Oh no, they're horrible, you need me." But if I'd be up for a client and they were interviewing other PR firms, they're like, "Well, why should I choose you over so and so?" And I'm like, "Who do you connect with? Who do you feel can do the best job for you?" It's that simple. It's not like, "I'm the best, I'm better than lava." No, we all have our strong points, we all have our weak points, but it comes down to it. It's the relationship, it's the best fit.
Right. And so it's funny that people would think that public relations is not about relationships since it has relations in the word. Um, but public relations is really about building a relationship with the public, right? Isn't
Yes,
that the core of it? So there's a lot of giving in that.
yes, it's about building relationships, sparking conversations, and shaping your brand. I mean, the stories that you tell shape your brand. But yeah, the bottom line is relationships. That's it. It's not the spin doctor, and every industry has gone through their phases of the
Yeah.
good, the bad, and the ugly. PR is kind of cleaned up, and it's about a relationship, and it takes time. That's why it's not direct sales. You don't walk up to someone and go, "Hi, will you marry me?" I mean, and I'm a hopeless romantic and I believe in love at first sight, but I'm not going to get married at first sight, you know. Um, There, there's a difference. It takes a while to
Mhm.
get, to get to know and to try and to trust, because trust is given. It's earned. It's not, you don't buy it.
Right,
You
right.
don't.
Words of wisdom right there. So let's take a little detour and talk about how you maintain your love for business. I see that you're a fan of jazz, classic rock, and nice people. Anything else?
Pardon me, I didn't get that.
Oh, how you maintain your love for business.
Oh, because I love, I love people's stories. I love excavating, crafting, and sharing the stories. People don't even realize how fabulous they are. When I write people's bios, and I ask them all these crazy questions, because it's not, their bio isn't a regurgitation of their resume. It's the highlight reel of their life, and when they don't even realize that when you're in the story, you don't see the journey as spectacular or brave or bold or anything like that. So, I ask all these questions, and then I find the connecting point, and start, writing a short bio, and it's short. It's just a few paragraphs, because otherwise it's a whole biography book. No one's going to read it. But that's the connecting point. And I've had people go, oh my gosh, I've had people cry, and they're just like, that's me. I did that. And they're like, yeah. And I couldn't write my own bio, so it's really hard. You can't see yourself from inside the jar. You know,
That's
when when you're in the forest, you can't. No, my friend laughed at me. She goes, "You want me to write your bio?" And I'm like, "Please, I can't do it."
well, she did a great job.
Yeah, she did. Sarah Gabriella is amazing.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about what you do to stay so awesome. You're a fan of jazz, classic rock, and nice
Yes.
people.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything else?
No mean people in my sandbox. Anybody who's owned a business, or even people, even employees, who've worked at a company, when you quit or when you fire a client, even if you can't afford it, it feels good. If you're not on the same page, if they're not respecting you, you know, um, PR is one of the most stressful professions, because we're in charge of nothing. We can't control our clients. We can't control if and when and what the media publishes. We can't control outside circumstances, disasters and things that happen. So it's like, we can't control it. So all you can do is your best. And when you do that, that's when you can sleep well at night, you
And I
know?
think too, with the stories, people love a story that really that they can connect with. And then I think that they're more willing to go with the company through the ups and downs because of the transparency that comes with the story. It's stories do dress up the truth, but
Well,
they but also they're a way of communicating deeper truths that would take forever to write out otherwise.
yeah, I think that people are able to identify the intention behind the story. They can tell when they're just spinning something, you
Hmm.
know, as opposed to when they're telling the truth. And I don't do a lot of crisis PR, because I just don't, um, the clients that I work with aren't controversial. I tend to stay away from that. But, and it's really funny, because I'm going to write a blog about it soon. They just celebrated the anniversary of the chemical leak in Henderson, and it was in the newspaper. And I was working at St. Rose at that time. So here I am, this little, right out of college, 20 something, in the middle of a crisis. And when you work at a hospital, you have disaster badges to get you through so you can get to work, like, nurses and doctors and PR people. Well, my boss had lost hers. And I'm this kid, but I knew how to handle it. And I was handling, all the local TV stations, the newspapers, because the air was green and all these rumors are flying left and right. And there's people, dying in the ER. And it was like, nobody died in the ER. The air was green because it was a chemical leak and there was some respiratory issues and stuff. And the doctors and nurses in the ER, they're like, get the cameras out of here. And I'm like, then you have to tell me what's going on so I can tell them so they'll leave you alone. And it got to the point where I was relaying the information before their deadline. So they left them alone, even if there was nothing left, nothing to report. If it was still the same, you just tell them it's the same because they have deadlines. You have to work with them, so when clients don't respect when the media calls for them to respond to them really quick. It's like, look, I've got clients, I've got the media, you're managing all these different things. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people don't realize that. And, more often than not, the media is not the enemy. They are working on deadlines that are absolute. They need, you have to work with them. And if you don't have their cooperation, there's a lot more mediums out there now. It's not just, the local newspaper or the TV stations. You can own your own mediums, and then there's social media and all these other things. But, you need to work with them.
So that's a really interesting perspective there. That normally I don't know if we would think of.
People don't. And when I get a client, I'm like, look, I put you in direct contact with the media because to go through me is like playing the telephone game. I mean, yes, of course, I want to know what's going on, but if you want to set up an interview with them directly, you can do that. I work with clients that can speak better about themselves than I can. No one wants to hear the PR person. They want to hear the owner of the company. So I create that direct contact. And when I went from 7 years at St. Rose to working at the RJ, for 7 years, I'd been sending press releases to the media, the health reporter or the community reporter or, whatever. And I'd never met any of them. We do not schmooze. We do not have lunch all the time. They're too busy. I was too busy. I walked in and the health reporter that I'd worked with for 7 years, he's not there anymore. But the first thing he said is, "You're Tami? I didn't picture you looking like that." It was like, so it was, yeah. But we knew each other. We could trust each other. It wasn't actually until social media that I started, you formed a deeper relationship with them. You have that opportunity because you see their posts and you see what they look like and they see what you look like. So it's interesting, and it's, social media has changed business in a lot of ways, and it's changed PR.
Yes, it sure has. It looks like we're almost out of time, but I'd like for people to find you on online or wherever you'd like them to find you. You tell us where we can find you.
I like that. Wherever you want. Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's my name. Twitter is at onebluecube.com. My website is onebluecube.com. And on Facebook, it's my name. It's Tami Belt. Everybody in the beginning was like, "You need a business page." I'm like, "No, I don't," because they're doing business with me, not a company. They do business with me. So.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Tami. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you, Miko.
And thank you, everyone, for watching The Love of Business. Stay tuned for more great shows from PR Connections Radio, the voice of new media.